Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Monday, March 18, 2024 meeting of the Village of Lansing Board of Trustees. It's just past 7:30. Call the meeting to order. The first order of business is roll call. Wolfgang Bulmer.
Present.
Susan Ainsley.
Present.
Carolyn Greenwald.
Here.
Drew Riedel.
Here.
Ronnie Hardaway is here. Thank you. Next order of business is the public comment period. If you're in the room or if there's anyone on Zoom who would like to speak on a topic that is not on tonight's agenda, please let us know. This is your chance to speak up. Seeing none and hearing none, I will move that we close the public comment period.
Second.
Carolyn seconds. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Public comment period is now closed. Next order of business is to approve the draft minutes from our March 4th meeting in 2024. I will move those.
Second.
Susan seconds. Is there any discussion, concerns? I know that Drew had
Yeah, did it come? Okay. Yep, that's good.
taken care of. Any other topics about the minutes? Okay, I will move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
I need to abstain, right? Because I was on Zoom.
You were on Zoom? Well, I didn't, I mean, you voted through the whole meeting.
So,
You can vote. Yeah, in minutes. You
aye.
were.
Raised your hand. Sorry. So it was unanimous. Okay, thank you. The next order of business is to consider the NYSEG LED streetlight conversion agreement and authorize the mayor to sign. John had sent out the information to us earlier regarding this. Basically, we're switching out some previously non-LED lights to LED that will cost us a little bit up front to switch out. We have to pay for the remainder of the agreement with the NYSEG, and after that point, they should be a lot less expensive. And according to the calculation, savings calculation, John, tell me if I'm wrong, I had to, it's fairly small reading, but I printed it out. The projected savings per year would be $5,738, is that correct?
What was that, 5,000?
$5,738. So we will be paying this year, I guess, $3,300 for the conversion to give us the permission to go forward with the conversion.
Is it $3,060.73?
Yeah,
Is that correct?
yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's in the letter.
3,000, is it, okay.
In the letter, yeah.
They had rounded up over in the spreadsheet to 3,017, so just be a calculation error. Okay,
Is there any way to negotiate this number?
John,
I couldn't hear you.
can we negotiate the number?
No, it's the buyout of the unused, unlife, unused life of the
Right.
lights.
Yeah, I know that, but we are doing something for the environment, so. Any way we can try it?
We could try, if you want to, we can postpone this. What happens if we postpone this, John? Do any of the numbers change?
Nothing.
I mean, this is something that I struck up in a conversation when they never even offered an LED conversion until just recently.
Okay,
So, I mean, this is not anything we have to get onto. The only thing is, the longer you prolong it, the more you're paying per month for the lights, so.
I see.
Is it worth?
Wouldn't that also decrease what the life of the bulbs too, in terms of what the exchange would change a little bit, right? On both
Well,
sides.
I don't think the prorating would
Change that much.
I don't think it's gonna drop much. But it's worth an email. I mean, you could obviously authorize the mayor to sign it contingent as proposed, and then if we do get a benefit of a reduction on the unused life, If we don't, then you can just sign it. If we do, and I get an email, I forward it to you, and
Okay,
So what would you say, John? Would you say something like, we're interested in the LED conversion, would you consider waiving the remainder on the life of the previous bulbs as an act of good faith, or something like that, like?
yeah, that or.
A reduction of it.
Yeah.
Well, I asked them for a 10% reduction. $300, but it's money, it's all money.
Let's do it.
You don't have to waive the 3,000. I don't
As long
know
as,
that they do
as
that.
long as it's quick,
Well,
I'd
since
say.
they waive all or some of the life,
Yeah,
just, yeah, okay.
just a question.
I've never had success negotiating with them. I can assure you that right now, but it's worth
The worst they can say is.
a quick email and.
Yeah, okay, let's do it.
As
Let's
long as
ask
it's
them.
quick, yeah.
okay. I will write a letter asking if they could reduce the payout for the unexpired life value from 3,000 to 2,716, or about, reduce it by $300.
10%.
And if we get a response back, if it's no or yes, then whatever that amount, final amount is, you authorize me to sign it. So how long should we wait for a response?
A week, max.
1 week.
Are they listening to this?
I'm sorry?
I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, right, they're listening to this, am I undermining our negotiation?
If this goes up online, they will hear everything.
We should say some reason, that's why I said as an act of good faith, because we're converting to
Right.
LEDs.
Yeah,
We should give a reason that they should give us in a good
rather
one,
than just,
because we are, which will ultimately reduce the load that you have to supply.
Right, yeah. Make more energy available to other customers.
Yeah, so
I
just give
actually
it,
kind of asked her that verbally. I said, is there any way we can just let this go? I mean, we have to all work together. And he said, it's a boilerplate that we use in Binghamton area, and it is what it is. She has no control.
It's kind of
So
bureaucratic.
you're more than welcome to talk to her, but I did.
Okay.
Try to negotiate with her.
I will, and we have the address to send that to once I've got it.
Email, I'll send you her email. Okay.
Okay. And I will put it on our letterhead.
It's in the chain of email that I sent.
Okay, all right, got you, all right. Then I will do that. I think I'll send it to the trustees, let you review it quickly, and so I will try to do that tomorrow morning. So sometime tomorrow morning, expect a letter from me, and then I will send that out, and we'll see what happens. In the meantime, is it okay to go ahead and authorize me to sign the letter within the 1 week timeframe? Okay, we'll need someone to move that motion, and second.
I'll move. Second.
Moved by Carolyn, seconded by Susan. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. The next order of business is to continue our discussion on our 2024-2025 budget. And I know Jody has sent out the preliminary budget data that everyone should receive today. And at your seat, there should be the printout of the actual spreadsheet Jody has created. Are there any concerns about the numbers?
So basically what this is the preliminary budget that we went through on our Thursday meeting. I have incorporated all the changes that you requested and then highlighted in yellow.
I have one question on the playgrounds. It has $3,000 for my spreadsheet. I thought.
And we took that off.
Yeah.
Did I leave it in there?
Yeah, so.
No, see on mine it has, no, do you have the one I just printed?
Oh,
Your
see,
mind
if it's different, I am going by what I got today. I didn't know that there was a change.
You have one right here, I just, everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
My problem with doing that, Jody, is that I have spent a lot of time going over these numbers.
Yep,
When you give me tonight, I have no time to go over.
I know, and I had no time to get it done either, so.
Okay.
I got it done for tonight's meeting.
Okay.
Read it right now, it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I just,
I have a question when you look at the other way that it's done in the long view. You don't have anything for storm sewers equipment for the proposed budget? I mean, I know so much of the sewers is the sewer project, but in past years, has there just been like a line item for sewers, just in case over the course of the year you need some kind of repair, or does that come from a different place?
Storm? You said
It says
storm?
storm sewers equipment. If you're looking on page 10 of the non-summarized budget. I'm just wondering, do we usually just have something in there for sewers, or we
If
don't?
you usually need anything, I come to the board and ask for, you know.
And then it will
usually-
come out of a different place, Jody?
Well, that, you have to remember a .2 is equipment. So
Yeah,
that would be major, but most.
Oh, that would be a big-
It's under .4.
okay, so
you'll-
so the 70,000 would cover it mostly on everything. Okay. So equipment is big equipment, not like he needs bolts or whatever.
Anything over
Yeah,
$500.
Is, yeah,
okay, okay,
but, well, not up to $500 for repairs in highway, because that's, you know.
Right.
If
That's
it's gonna
okay.
add, so we have to do GADS fee, it's 34, and what that is you have to keep track of your assets. So anything over $500 adds to, we keep property cards on and keep track of it. And so like when we do, like say he redid Oak Crest Road, and we spent $109,000 on it, that goes in to the report that we send to our accountant, and he does the calculations of what our assets are. Taking that, he does the depreciation and all that, so
okay.
that's how that works.
There was F 8340.2, there's a line that Jody had highlighted. Well, let me see, let me go back, this new version, let me see if there's anything there.
Yeah, so there's the total bid for dirt contract is in there, plus the 85,000 for the lead service investigation,
That service line?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you'll notice in the water fund, we have to take $890,630 out of reserve. And our reserve is only $954,000.
After you took that out?
Huh?
After you took that out, or before?
After we take it out.
Okay.
Yeah, we only have
You said before.
60,000, yeah, left.
Okay.
So that's taking that dangerously low, but we have increased our water rate, and, you know, we may have to increase it again, depending on what projects we may have coming down the pike.
And is there a long-term, like, budget plan for those projects, what would be necessary and kind of how that?
John's working on
John's
it.
working on that, okay. Yeah,
We're going to get like I spoke last meeting, we have a plan.
great.
And the only other option would be, is you can use general funds
Yeah,
for water projects. If we would want to take money from the general fund instead.
and so this year we have in the general fund, 2.4 million of revenues and 3.2 million of expenditures. I'm looking at that right, appropriation total.
So, revenues. So 3.2, round numbers. And then if you look, that's expenditures. And then this, it should be the same.
Well, that's,
It's the same if you go to page 16.
yeah, so the 2.4 of total revenues and then there's appropriated fund balance, so.
So, yeah, so appropriated fund balance is money that's left over from this year's budget that we can allocate to pay for stuff. So for instance, we didn't do Dart Drive project.
I see.
We can appropriate that money to the next year.
So what's the balance for this year? For the general fund?
What is the total? The general fund is $3,215, or $215,938, which is an increase of 6.58% from last year. Water is 2,317,950, which is an increase of 56.83%. And sewer, 1,991,340, which is a decrease of 67.86%. But that's because we did the Hugh Heights Road.
Yeah.
So that's why it's
But
different.
that means you balance income and expenses.
Yep,
Okay, so the difference comes out to zero.
yep. That's what the,
Okay.
you'll see that in here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I guess just as almost, I'm gonna be off this in a month, but just as a citizen, I kind of wonder, how big of a balance we build. Because we want to spread out, if you want to kind of pay from reserves we have and not borrow. If the taxes are too high, then you could not us exactly, but you could imagine a world where you build a war chest and either, residents would rather have their money or invest it themselves.
You're not allowed, right? What is the rule on that?
So we are not
Right.
raising the tax rate.
Right.
It's staying at $1.50.
Yeah, but,
Our assessment has gone up a little bit,
right,
but.
So it's passively increasing.
6.58%.
right. But, so what level do you kind of say this is, is larger than it needs to be? Because the tax rate kind of floats with the appraisals. If it's going above inflation, you're kind of raising tax dollars, right? People's taxes are going up faster than inflation.
If they're-
Passively, you're kind of
Their
just
assessment,
doing it.
yes, that's correct.
So I guess, is there a thought to how large can that be? But at the same time, if it's not funded enough, and you kind of need, depending what the capital project is, you could end up passing on infrastructure projects that should be getting done, right?
So what's going on in the general fund is we are not putting any into reserve. We're just sending it on projects that need to get done.
Right, yeah,
So we have a healthy reserve in the general fund. In the past, it wasn't so healthy, and at that point, we were budgeting in there to put over into the reserve, but right now, in this budget, we are not putting anything into any of our reserves. And we're really depleting our water.
yeah, right. So that's
That's a concern for me, yes.
Okay.
Should a water project come up in an emergency that we don't have in reserves?
We could
that-
use general.
At that point, we would consider moving money from general fund
Yep.
into the water,
Yep,
so. And,
and this is a really big project that it's not normally, do we do projects like this? So, we do that this year. Next year, hopefully, we won't be spending as much out of the water fund, and we'll be able to put some back into the reserve. That's, build it up a little bit, but it's better than paying interest.
Well, yeah, right. It depends, yeah, but it depends on the situation. Because, yeah, go ahead.
I didn't make it.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
The thing, and the capital projects plan obviously is going to be very important. And
Right.
that is, how do we schedule these future projects, known future projects, in such a manner that we don't have to move money from our general into the specific water or sewer funds, so our sewer reserves. So we need to do that carefully, and thoughtfully. John, I know that John's aware, as we should be, that there are aging water lines, aging sewer lines, and we just need to be sure that we schedule those in such a manner that we get the work done, but without overextending ourselves financially. So,
Some of these, like Graham Road Dart, have really surfaced in the last couple of years. There was no warnings up until a certain point. We have documentation of all the water breaks, but they're getting more catastrophic, where they're taking several hundred feet of road out and lifting it up against the curb. So now it's just not a simple repair, it turns into a $15,000 or $20,000 easily repair for each one.
right.
Just put the pavement back. I would like to say that we've had 10 years of notice in these projects, but we haven't, so.
Do you think that that's due to the extremes in our temperatures and the weather, just torrential downfalls, sudden downfalls and shifts and,
I think a lot of it is improper installation. There was a lot of these mains that are sitting on just straight rock.
Okay.
And any flexibility in the ground movement is just bursting them. For the age, and the water we're pumping. If Jody could look back 10 years ago and look at the water we're pushing through these lines over the last 10 years is significant. I think she had something like 100 million gallons or something. I didn't, it's in there in the water, but it's substantial. There's a lot of water moving through these pipes, and that fills the tank up on Brown Road and then distributes it back to the residents in the village.
right. Any other questions or concerns about the budget that we need to discuss tonight?
Spend a lot on engineering,
We do spend a lot on engineering.
on company. It's a total of 360,000 right now in the budget, without contingency.
What would you do?
For that amount of money, you could either hire an engineer full-time. You get pretty good engineers for that amount of money.
I'm not sure my concern is it's not just an engineer that we're hiring a firm with bodies and a good system,
I know that.
so.
I think our engineering costs are gonna go down significantly next year after the projects are done. And they tried that at Cuba Heights and they hired a full-time engineer, and the software and all this constant upgrading of software and all the documents and all the materials needed was counterproductive to the work they needed. That's just my input on it.
I would tend to agree with that, just
You see
from my experience.
spirits go up and down on the amount of engineering you're using. We're finishing off a $4.5 million project, sewer project. We're stepping into a $2.5 million project. And then we kind of subside a little bit, and rejuvenate them funds. We work on our capital plans. We start planning. I mean, we have been planning. I thought we've done an excellent job with Jody and the board putting money in reserves. And I think there's not very many fortunate municipalities that can actually say they pay for their projects without getting external funding.
I agree. The thing I guess we need to be cognizant of is the engineering we do prior to projects. Are we pulling the trigger on the engineering considerations too soon so that an engineer works and works and works, and getting closer to the time the actual implementation of a project, all of a sudden you've got to re-engineer it again? My concern is that we initiate the engineering at the right moment in the capital plan for the project to be done, engineered properly, and not go through cycles of changes and changes and changes and increasing the cost of engineering.
I totally understand what you're saying, and we faced that with the sewer project. And I think ultimately the sewer project cost us more money because we got into the COVID side of things. We procrastinated, we didn't. I mean, just everything.
Yeah, circumstances.
Easements are tough to obtain. Nobody wants to just give a piece of their land up to a sewer line. And then when you do put the hammer down on the project, we got right into the brunt of the COVID material cost increase.
Yeah.
And PVC products are primarily what we used in that. They took a 30–40% jump.
Yes.
Hopefully that's a one-time situation we won't face again.
Yeah, the materials, supplies, and demands and so forth, that's all, that's true, they didn't implement it. My concern is if we engineer and re-engineer something 3 or 4 times when we could have backed off and done that once or twice, it's trying to save money that way. What is the prime point in planning and getting ready to execute the project to get the engineering firm involved. So let's be cognizant of that in the future and
Well, I think the water line is kind of a minute point, but the sidewalks, we did the Dart Drive project with a shoulder extension, thinking that was gonna be suffice for it, so we had some engineering in there. They ultimately, after that, hindsight 2020, a lot of people moved out, moved in, they wanted the sidewalk, and that sprung a lot of additional costs in the project, you know, in general. So we had to kind of almost go back and start all over again.
Right.
Compared to what we had. We thought we had something that would suffice, and we went back to the drawing board.
Is that a lesson for going forward, that?
Yeah, that's-
But do sidewalks first and not, okay.
yes, yeah, I think,
Whatever, when we did everything is in our mind. We have the topo for Cuba Heights, and that's the kind of the groundwork to accepting a potential new sidewalk in the future. Same with St. Joseph Lanes in Watopka. We added the storm in consideration to accept the new walk, and it's documented on the plans. So we're trying to be proactive in our approach to do better things for the village.
It's interesting, it's an interesting thought to think of having a part-time engineer on staff. It's not something that I've thought about before, you just raised it, and you know, I didn't realize that. I mean, Brent works, you're saying full-time for Cuba Heights, and so they don't hire T.G. Miller?
Yeah, they do.
yeah,
Still do that?
Over at Cuba Heights, Brent Cross is an engineer.
Yeah,
Before John, we had Dennis, who was an engineer.
okay.
So, I mean,
He wasn't really an engineer where he did plans. I mean, he had just a degree that he didn't have a stamp to go behind it. But what I'm trying to tell you is T.G. Miller's been working hardcore for Village of Cuba Heights. They got an engineer paying an engineer because the software constantly changing, all the infrastructure to be an engineer is constantly changing. And they hire T.G. Miller all the time. The grants that they got for the sidewalk on the Cuba Heights Trip Hammer Road expansion project for the sidewalks they put in, that was all by T.G. Miller.
right, yeah. No, I understand that the cost of an engineering firm, you have to certify all of those engineers too. And that's a constant cost, and everything's changing. You have to train people on software, all that I understand. But from our perspective, when is the right point to get them involved in a project, planning for and implementing a project? When is the right moment to get them involved? We have as much information as we can possibly have, that they won't have to come back and re-engineer it because circumstances changed. I mean, I think it's going to be we're not going to get it right every time, but keep it in our minds to think, is this the right time to get T.G. Miller involved? Do we need to wait for more information and then let them get involved?
What is Brent's role for us? Only coming to planning board meetings, or also,
Consulting on some of our projects.
planning board.
but could he also be a consultant here, to be like,
Yes.
yeah, so maybe we should ask Brent then, on a consulting biz level, look at this project, when do we go to T.G. Miller? Or is that not his role? I'm just a suggestion, I don't know.
I don't think he wants to do that much. But
If that's the case, then we probably at some point, I know that Brent's probably moving close to retirement, and we probably are going to have to
Yeah.
come up with a replacement for Brent to help.
Well, maybe when that happens, we could say that, do you want, both portions of his jobs are available to you, helping us decide when to bring in the engineer, and also all the stuff that Brent currently does.
Yeah. I think that from my experience, Brent tries to do some of that, but it's how focused it is, I can't say. But from our standpoint, from this board's standpoint, we need to keep in the back of our minds, is this the right time for engineering?
But Wolfgang also had another point, which is that because of the small town that we live in, we're always going to the same firms, which are the main firms, and
Well,
it's tricky when it's a monopoly, and that we should think about that as well, just keep our eyes and ears open, I guess, to,
I'm not,
I really like T.G. Miller, but I'm just saying,
I'm not questioning T.J. Miller,
but I mean, too.
but the feedback I got about T.J. Miller, and I know a lot of people in the area, They are a good firm.
Yeah,
They're really good.
Yeah.
So I'm not questioning TJ Mill.
yeah.
I'm saying we spend a lot of money. And is there anything we can do in terms of either project management, outsourcing something, for a draftsman? There are draftsmen sitting around and their hourly rate is a lot lower than what you would pay for an engineering firm. Of course, an engineering firm has to make some profit. It's all understood. So I'm not questioning TJ Mill. TJ Mill is a good company. But do we always need, for what we do or what we want to know, do we always need to pay $185 per hour? Question mark.
Well,
That's a question mark,
do you know draftsmen, like actual, people right now?
I wouldn't to know what's around. I used outside draftsmen all the time.
Should nose around and just have like a list that we could think about if this opportunity, if this pre-TG Miller drafting comes up for a future project. Have some names.
There is a possibility to do internships with students. For example, Cornell students, they need a project. So instead of giving it to them, do a project with these guys. Just it's 360,000 in the budget right now. If you all come to the conclusion it's okay, let's go. If we come to the conclusion there is probably a little bit we can do.
I think we need to keep our minds open to what you're saying, to alternative ways of doing things. Go ahead, John, I know you wanted to say something.
I think it's good to take a flip and look at the invoices from TJ Miller and look at the amount of different specialty people that are involved in this, from water people, sewer experts, to bid document assembly, where, I'm not cutting anybody out, Natalie, but they assemble the bid documents almost attorney ready, where it's just a simple review. There's a lot of integral parts where you're capitalizing, you're tapping into 4 or 5 different people's expertise to make that, where if you try to get one person, I think you would fall short. And that's exactly what happened to Hugo Heights. Everything is changing, they had to tap out to another industry.
And then you have to coordinate all of that.
Yeah.
The other issue from prior experience, if you send things out to be drafted, TG Miller has to inspect them, go through and review those, because they're going to be putting their stamp on it, and they'll want to make sure everything is done right. And sometimes that review can be longer than drafting it and knowing that they got it right the first time. So all of these are good considerations, and we certainly need to look at it, but you got to be careful that you don't break something trying to fix something, and that can happen.
Believe me, I know that.
I know. So
I was running engineering or businesses for 30 years of my life, so I know what to do in this case. So
the discussion is,
anyway,
for this budget, we don't have time to solve the engineering. We've got to pretty much kind of pay for it. But through the year, as we're spending it, then we should look, is this the right time, is the right things being done? So we're probably going to have questions for you, John. And it's okay if you bring in Dondi and say, okay, why are we doing this now? And is this going to be a one pass, or is it going to be a multi-pass deal? So don't be surprised, because I had concerns about the engineering costs also. So it's a good discussion. Thank you, everyone. Anything else? I had a question on it's underwater, F8340.2. There was a question from Jody, $1,222 for $1,222,450 bid for dark contract. Anything to be done in 2023, 24? So I guess can some of that expense be taken out of this year's budget?
We pretty much did.
Okay.
With the amount of materials we took out, the completion of the engineering, and that tank has been in the budget for a couple of years, and we finally getting the motivation going on that tank. We're right in the middle of it. It's coming out perfect. We just wanted to spend a little bit more money. I had a total, I think, 50,000 or 55,000 on that budget, but I think.
Are you looking at 8340.2?
You said,
This is for the dark contract.
yeah, But you said you wanted to know if we could take anything out of,
No, well,
The question is were you like buying any materials? And I think you answered that because you said you still had left. You wanted to buy, what was it, $350,000? So that's materials, that's outside of the contract for the DART project.
Right.
So we're saying, what we bought this year, we bought 200 and some thousand material.
yeah, 16 or something?
That was for, what, that was not
That was
for the
for
DART
Graham.
project? That was
That was
for Graham Road.
No, Graham Road's 2,800 feet, and Dart Drive
So
is 29.
basically, the contract that we just bid is not really the total cost of what a contract is. We're paying another $350,000 for material. So we're buying the material now
Yeah.
before they can even start the project. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we need to get that advertised and out to bid because we awarded the contract, but they can't start until they get this material.
That is correct. We're working on their start date, and it's not gonna take long to bid the materials out. It's only.
It's gonna take you a couple weeks at least, 'cause you gotta advertise
They
it.
can't start until, they're not looking to start. We couldn't get a definitive start date, but it doesn't look like they're starting in April. I can assure you that. I wouldn't want anybody digging near our streets in April. It's just too early.
okay.
Oh, because you had said before you thought they would start in April.
What's that?
You had said at the last meeting that you
They'll
thought they were
start
starting in
some of
April.
the- Getting the mobilization of equipment and stuff like that, but not really put the shovel in the ground.
All of the prep work to begin.
Yeah,
They can,
mobilization,
okay.
we'll have time to secure the materials.
Getting the material
We still
together.
have 2,800 feet of water line for this.
Right.
project. So they'll have plenty of start.
To start. Okay, all right, good. The next thing I see highlighted is just going back to our discussion about raising the water rates from 60% to 70%.
That number is based on the 70% that you guys decided.
The number that's in here.
The 1,399,500.
Okay.
That number is the 70%.
Okay. So from your experience, Jody, how long will it take us to build up our reserves to a healthy amount again? A couple of years? How much of that are we going to spend?
It all depends on what you need to spend it on.
Right.
You know, I don't have, if I had a crystal ball.
You don't have a
I
crystal ball.
don't.
Let's put that in next year's budget, crystal ball.
Well, and you know,
No,
what, you
I
can
just-
decide, say, hey, look, our reserve's getting down, and we're saying from the next 3 years, we want to put $100,000 in each year, planning for the next big project.
Right.
So then you would adjust your water rate.
Go up more.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I know I'm gonna be a dead horse, and I know I'm wrong on this, but raising rate, we raised the cost of water 17% effectively from,
so
right?
you're getting
Hold on.
1,000 gallons for
Yeah.
$4.43 compared to 1,000 gallons for $3.79.
But we're raising the water costs, people's water
Yep,
costs from
Yeah.
16,
Yeah.
17%. At what rate do we raise it, or do we wait on doing infrastructure rather than borrowing? New York municipalities like sub 3%. So I think there is a trade, you could argue like we're never gonna do it, but I don't think I don't see it as necessarily black and white if the rates are below 3% right now.
they're not.
That's what it said on S&P 500 for New York.
3%?
Yes.
Can you find, if
For
you
municipal
find me
rates.
a loan for 3%, I'll
That's what
take
it
it.
said, yeah. So
I don't think so.
municipal rates. You get their tax deducted,
Yeah.
so, yeah. I can show you the sheet after, I can show it to you now, or I can show it to you. But if the rate, let's just say that the rate's worse 3%, and it's as opposed to raising water rates, there is a trade-off where a citizen would be like,
Yeah, so then
I don't
you
want
have
to
to
pay
go
water
through
rates that are.
a bond, and you have to go through all the legal costs along with it. I mean, it's not just the interest that you're
I know that.
paying.
Yeah.
There is a whole lot, and then you, at that point too, when we had the sewer bond, we had to have a full audit every year. So your audit line, which is 5,000 now, is gonna be 12,000 every year. So you're
Okay,
gonna spend another 7,000 just for an audit because you have a bond. So you, I mean, there are a lot of.
Yeah, so it's not just the
different costs that go
interest.
into it. It's not just the interest rate, yeah.
That's good information.
Mhm.
Thank you, Johnny. Well, my question is, our water fund is low. We're going to have a capital plan coming up that would help us start planning to implement projects. Do we go up to 80% for a couple of years, build up a quick fund, and then we can drop it back? We can move back after a couple of years when we feel that the fund is at a healthy level.
I think we should have an idea of what the project is and the project costs, and then talk about, we need this money. Right now, it's just a vague idea that we need to have the reserve. Not vague, it's a clear idea that we need to have the reserve, but there's not a specific project need. When there is a specific project need, I like your idea of funding it quickly.
Okay. All right. No, I tend to agree. I just wanted to bring up the topic. And the alarm has been sounded weeks before tonight, but that our fund is getting low. If we have an emergency, we have to move money out.
Can you be more specific about, like, so what is low and then what is healthy?
Well, so after we spend the 800,000 this year of the reserve, you got $60,000 left.
That is low,
What can you do a
Nothing.
project?
nothing.
Two small
Right.
projects.
And you don't, and then the crystal ball won't tell you how much we're gonna put into that this year, but we're hoping it would be 100,000 at the end of the year, plus? Like, what would be like,
But so you gotta think too, let's look at our water budget and how much we're spending. I mean, we're spending 1.3 million on a water project. Next year, we may have one that's only 500. So then you'll be even because we're borrowing 800 from the reserve. But
okay,
if you would not have a capital reserve, capital project that year, then you can say, okay, we're, at that water rate, let's see, what was it? You have almost $576,000 that you get to use for water repair, water capital projects. That's what you have. So if you have 300,000, then you would be able to put it at the same rate, 275,000 into reserve,
gotcha.
technically.
All right,
I mean, it's kind of like, just like we're doing with the truck. We knew we were gonna get the truck. We knew it wouldn't hit our budget real easy with one, swoop. So what did we do? We put money into reserve to pay for half of it. So it came out of this year and then come out of the next year, and then you have your truck. So it's the same type thing.
I can send you the list that Bolton Point sent Ronnie and I. It's basically recommendations of repairs to the infrastructure. And we don't have much on that anymore. We've really hammered it down with the miles of water line we've installed over the years. I think the biggest project that we have left is the water line on just halfway up Burdick Hill and then back at Food Net. But those are in the dirt. They don't do much damage to houses. We can isolate them a lot easier down to 1 or 2 customers. We're not dealing with 30 in a short section of Dart Drive. So we don't have much on there. I'll send you the list. I mean, Ronnie and I got it from Greg Weatherby a month and a half ago or so.
Yeah, I had forgotten that would be a good way to start, yeah.
This is basically small repairs. So I don't see anything big slapping us in the face in the next year or two.
So we've got
I feel like
time to.
we got plenty of time
Okay.
to get them reserves up at the 70%.
Okay, and then just deal with emergency repairs.
Miscellaneous repairs, emergency repairs.
Right, okay. All right. Let's see here. Okay, and for this year, Jody's highlighted purchases within the water fund, the purchases for the materials, 300, we just talked about that. The ground tank foundation repair and the ground tank wash paint. So $446,000, basically, that we would be spending this year from the water fund.
Do we already have a contractor to do the airport ground tank, John?
What's that?
We already have a contractor
Yeah.
to do it?
Yeah,
And-
I put RFPs out,
And you
That's-
got 3 quotes back?
and that's the one I got for the 26. But when we were up there, we started looking at the paint a little bit more, and it takes a special paint, and the tank is 75 feet in the air. It needs to be cleaned. And it takes a lift and a special person to do that.
And you got that bid also separate?
No,
That's,
I haven't done that yet.
so that $23,050 is a guess.
It's an estimate.
Okay.
Who's the contractor that's gonna do the foundation?
Sarah's doing
So what's the difference between them doing it that way or doing it under us?
it. Because there's so many materials involved. My guys would be chasing parts for weeks trying to get it done. They have to get jackhammers involved, they have to get demo saws involved. We toyed with the idea, Donnie and I talked it over, because we toyed with the idea, and we were gonna end up spending more money spinning our wheels for materials, let them buy their own materials, and they can recycle it any way they want to.
And they already have a lot of the specialty equipment, correct?
Yeah, we didn't supply anything to them, just went up and inspected it.
Any other concerns or questions about the budget? At our April 1st meeting, we will be, hopefully, we will be considering setting the public hearing for the budget. So I guess between now and then, look over both this sheet and the sheet Jody provided, and if you have any questions, let's be prepared to raise those last few questions at that meeting, get it solidified.
If you have any questions, please get them to me before the meeting.
Oh, before, can we
Yes.
make changes and then just adopt it at the,
Well, because I have to have that budget set. If you would have to set a public hearing, it's gotta be set.
It's gotta be set
So
at
if we
that
have
point.
changes, let's get them in the proposed budget before.
so any questions you have, and send to Jody, copy all of us, because that might trigger more questions from us. And in the meantime, so take a look at the numbers and send questions into Jody, copy us, and then we can get something, get this information solidified, stabilized, and ready for meeting so that we can vote for a public hearing. And I will not be at the April 1st meeting, and I don't think Drew will be either. So Carolyn, Susan, and Wolfgang, can you be here for that meeting for quorum?
Yeah,
As far as I know right now, yes.
And I plan to Zoom in so I can contribute, and I'm able to vote, correct? From, okay, as long as we have a quorum in the room, so I can vote, and I'll be as informed as I can be of all of the questions that come up by email communications before now and then, too. So Drew, will you be able to? Zoom in?
Probably not, I'm traveling, yeah. it's gonna be-
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine, happens. So, okay, so April 1st, let's help Jody help us, and not pose questions at the very last minute. She has enough on her shoulders. And in the meantime, look over the numbers and get information or questions to her, and that way her answers can come back to all of us also. So, thank you.
I have a question, not regarding the budget, but regarding the spend for the rest of the year. These numbers change quite a bit.
The numbers have changed, they came from John. He
They
revised them.
have changed quite a bit in 2 days.
Yeah, so that's one of
Basically.
the other things that I'm gonna be doing, is with all of these numbers of what's gonna get spent this year, I'm gonna have to try and figure out if we're gonna have any appropriated fund balance. Which could say, for instance, with what he's gonna spend in water, we may have an extra 50,000. If that's the case, it goes to appropriating fund balance, and then that would mean that'd be less we'd have to get from the reserve. So that's just another level of detail that I will get to before the April 1st meeting.
Thank you, Jody.
Okay. But I assume we know why the numbers changed that much in 2 days.
It's changed a little bit, from what we had, I guess is that the remaining expenditures that you're
Yep.
talking about?
Yeah, that's it,
Yep,
yeah.
that's
I
the,
think Jody added to them a little bit too.
I did not add to yours. Only thing I added was engineering, because they gave me the engineering costs that were remaining
Yeah,
for
that's,
the year.
that can be some of it. If you
But
can
those
highlight
were-
it out, okay, I can explain it to you.
okay,
I mean, I think an email would be more appropriate than something.
yep,
Right, and Wolfgang, copy all of us, and John on your answer copy us too, please. Okay,
Add more to the water fund, that's for sure.
yeah, that's the biggest one, but
generally,
just for example, the cameras are now 16,500. They were 15,000 last time, and when we discussed, it was 10,500. So that's a 60%.
She put the two numbers together. There was two separate line items. She put the ones together.
Okay, so I send you an email.
Yep, perfect.
thank you. Okay, I'm going to move on to our next topic, which is set our public hearing for proposed local law B 2024, the tax override for 1st, 2024 at 7:35 PM. Basically, we have to pass a local law that allows us, if we need to impose a property tax levy in excess of what the state's levy limit. We have never had to do that, but just in case, we have to have a law in place that lets us do that in an emergency. We've always done this just to be sure that if it turns out through all of our budgeting discussions and the costs and our income or our revenue, that we do need to increase our tax levy, that we can do that. So I will move this proposed local law. Is there any
Set a
other,
public hearing.
to set a public hearing, but before we do that, is there any other question or concern? Okay. So we will set the public hearing for 7:35 at our April 1st meeting. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. The next topic is mayor's comments. Just see, we switched to a new phone system thanks to Jody's work. She's found a phone system that costs us a lot less per month, therefore per year. The system, we had some training today. John, Mike Scott, and myself sat in on the training. We've recorded it. The information for staff is all online now, so people can refer to all of the information, plus they can watch a recording of the meeting to know how to use the new phones. It's basically a computerized phone, from what I can tell, but they'll start installing tomorrow about 9 AM. I don't know how long that's going to take, and I don't know what it will do to impact phone service. We had, this morning, the phones were not working. We were concerned that maybe there was some sort of a switchover miscommunication, but it turns out that our phone system just needed to be rebooted. It's because it's a voice over IP phone, the old system is, and the new system, sometimes you have to reboot, just like a computer. So Mike Scott took care of that issue, but tomorrow while they're installing, they have 7 phones to install. There might be a period where there is no phone service. I put up a news item on our homepage on our website to let people know there might be some interruptions in our service. So just to forewarn you. The other thing is the newsletters, newsletter articles. Don't forget that Jody's going to need those. I think we've decided the 28th, 29th, let me check. 28th. Check the calendar here, 28th, yes. So be sure to get those to Jody so that we can get our newsletter out. I think that is everything for me tonight. Going around the table, Carolyn, do you have anything?
I don't have anything tonight.
Drew? Susan?
Well, the town of Lansing responded to 2 fire emergencies. One was smoke at Lansing West, and one was a brush fire. These both were Saturday evening, in the area of Best Buy.
Okay.
I don't mean Best Buy. Yes, I do.
Over here.
Yeah. Where, I mean, it was significant enough that the residents on Blue Heron were notified.
Okay.
That's it.
Did they determine the cause of that brush fire?
I couldn't hear that part of it, and it was a conversation that I overheard but I didn't ask.
I see.
Cause,
This was a town meeting that you were at?
no, it was at the gym,
Oh,
one of the firefighters.
oh,
Okay.
but I was like, I thought the town meeting is Wednesday and I'm covering it. Okay.
No, it was just the conversation. We support volunteer firemen in the town of Lansing who responds to ours, so it was, but it was good information. I don't know who they were
Yeah.
but it's not information we necessarily would have seen written
Okay.
in news reports, but
Yeah,
I
I saw a
thought,
news article about the fire in the apartment, but not anything about a brush fire. Coming from West Texas, brush fires are nothing to sneeze at.
oh, no, no, I mean,
So that would have a concern.
yeah,
High winds and fire and brush and all of our
Dust
trees, dead
tanks.
trees. Oh, jeez. That's one of my fears.
yes, the fire is not,
Well, I'll see if Mike has heard anything. Sometimes he hears before we do. I'll talk with him tomorrow. I'll be here in the office.
well, I mean, it might very well be,
I'm just
but I thought it was
curious.
important enough.
I would like to know what was the cause.
Yeah,
So, anyway, thank you, Susan.
you're welcome.
Wolfgang, you have anything?
Nothing.
Nothing tonight? Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Carolyn moves, Wolfgang seconds simultaneously.
You went right for the second.
Very close second.
Well, you just went right for the second.
Discussions, and I will see you digitally. I will be here at the next meeting, so have a good night. Adjourned at 8:27.